Hello, welcome back to A City Planner Plays City Builders, where we are building the city of Bluffside Crossing. And in the previous episode, we were really focusing on retrofitting the city for the new snow theme that we're in. And one of the things that I did was place this nuclear power plant in an effort to stabilize the power grid. That said, this is a terrible location for this plant. I'll be blunt, I don't have a lot of experience with this type of power plant. In the area that I live, most of the power is generated either by hydroelectric or coal, natural gas, solar, and wind. So this is foreign to me. That said, that doesn't mean that I can't use basic planning principles to think about what good placement of this plant would look like. So a couple things that I learned. First of all, these plants, the employment is high. You can't see that here, but generally this plant would employ between 500 and 1,000 people. So obviously we're not going to make a 500 to 1,000 person car parking facility. What I did is I looked at the size of the parking fields that are associated with these, and it's generally 2 to 3 times the size of the plant. So we're going to need a large parking facility for this power plant to make it look natural and to function appropriately in the real world. But there are obviously more things to think about than just parking. One of the main things that we need to think about is proximity to a water source. So nuclear power plants are very, very, very water intensive. So this location's pretty nonsensical. You'd anticipate that this would be on the banks of a shore with maybe a water pump next to it. Just a place that's more conducive to the needs of this facility. So I've done some looking, and I could certainly place it right here along the banks of the shore. That would make sense. I just want to back this up from the city a little bit more. So I've been looking at this area down here. There's a bit of a reservoir, and it would need some grading, some significant grading to make it possible here, but I think it would be a good location. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is actually put the power plant in this area and then tie the roadway network in a couple different ways. Over here, there's an arterial that we could tie into. There's also this highway over here that we could tie into. And then up here, we could try to make a connection into this neighborhood. And this would provide a number of roadway connections that right now are challenging, and at the same time provide a suitable place for this power plant. So we're going to start out by doing a bit of grading and getting this ready for the power plant. So I'm just kind of panning around to see where I want to put this. There's going to be a lot of grading. I think this is probably the best location where I would be doing the least amount of grading. Truthfully, it's going to be significant no matter where I go. Still torn. So I think I might put it right over here. Now I'm just going to place a road along the side of the newly created shore. Now we're going to pause it for a minute as I grab the plant to move it. So this was a lot of grading, probably a lot more than would be reasonable, but the challenge with this map is that in some cases, there's just so much work to do grading that it doesn't, I guess it's just, you got to kind of take some liberties on this map. There are places where I could have put it, I feel like most of the areas that were available are either going to be used for other things in the future or aren't much better. I guess another area I wanted to mention, I did think about placing it way back here, but the number of power lines and the amount of connectivity I'd need to add to make that area work, in my mind, made it kind of a non-starter. So back to where we were. I'm getting turned around a bit here. Okay. So we've got our new location over here. So I do want to have a water pumping station. Okay, so now we have plenty of water to serve this plant. And next up, we're going to need to think about the parking, like I mentioned. So this is going to be a significant project here, and I do think, I smoothed out this grading really quickly. It's probably not the right choice. Let's wait until we have our parking built. So I have not picked up the big parking lot. Asset pack yet, so I am going to continue using the same parking assets that I have been using. That said, I think this will be fine for what we're trying to do right now, so not overly concerned about it. Okay, I tried to get a little fancy with it. It wasn't a good idea. So I think this is probably going to be what we do. It's about 2 times the size. We could probably add 1 more row back if we wanted to get really precise with it. Maybe I will. Okay, so now just the fun part, and that is getting all of our parking stalls situated. So let's do that now. Okay, so I'm struggling with this a little bit, so I'm going to give it a rest because I don't think that you guys are super interested in watching me just attempt to get this right over and over and over and over again. Truthfully, I'm getting a little bit impatient with it myself. That said, you kind of get the point. So now one of the things that I want to do is get some trees planted in this area. And so I think that is important in parking facilities in general, is to make sure that you are well landscaping it. Okay, so basically what I've done here is I've used the prop line tool to add landscaping in between the parking facilities, and I think that really is helpful in making this look and function more appropriately. So this is kind of a challenge in general. The parking asset that I have right now just isn't great in a snow map, which might limit how long I use this particular asset set, or how long I use the snow map. One of the two. Not sure which one yet. Let me know down in the comments. Are you guys enjoying the snow build, or do you prefer that I switch back to a more conventional, or the more conventional Bluffside map sooner rather than later? I put these larger trees at the front of the parking facility, but I think I'm actually going to go with something smaller. You wouldn't want to completely block visibility in here. I'll do some clusters too. And then maybe a row of bushes just to outline it. Okay, so we have this. When you zoom out, you can see the parking facility. You can see that I missed a whole bunch. Shoot. Back to this. I'm gonna go fast. Okay, so now when I zoom out, it looks a little more reasonable again. Good enough for me. Let's fix up some of this grading because we still got some significant issues that I've created, and I do want to make this a little bit more rational, reasonable. So we've got that. I don't want a gigantic cliff leading down to this. This particular map theme and that comes with the base game, I don't love the way that it renders the cliffs, but this will inevitably look quite a bit better once we are back in the normal map theme. So we have this. We are running. Whoops. Hopefully we're not completely destroying the city. It looks like we're still growing, so must be okay. So let's work to get this place connected. So first, we have all of these great water facilities that aren't connected to anything right now. So we'll get that linked up momentarily, but we probably should do the roads first. So because of the remote location of this, I do think that I am going to use the national road to come up with my location. And I want to actually, let's take a look at this. We'll look at the topography. It's going to be a real challenge to link this up, but we're going to give it a go. So let's look at where this connection can be made. We kind of follow this one contour. I don't love where this is going to leave me connecting, so I might try to cut up. And there would be some significant visibility challenges here. So let's see if we can't level this out just a little bit. So it's a little better now, at least. Still don't love this. I think node controller might be a way to improve that. Okay, well, I'm not going to get overly crazy about it. I do think this looks better. Oh, except that I left the anarchy on. Okay. Let's do a little bit of tree removal work. Okay, I don't think drivers would have been all that impressed to see trees in the middle of the road. I know that if it were me, I wouldn't have been. So, nevertheless, I think that this is much better. Ooh, that is significant slope again. That's much better. I think that that's a much more rational slope. There's, you know, especially in the older roads in the city, I could really stand to improve the slopes a bit, but that's another day project. So I did talk about wanting to try to snake this up across the other side. I think, you know, I looked at this, I could try to finagle something in here. I just don't know that it's a great fit, and maybe this is good enough. But I do definitely want to try to make it up the other side. So what I'm going to do is try to come back over. I want this bridge connection to be as short as possible. So this is probably our shortest crossing. Okay, so we have our bridge crossing, and let's make sure that I'm just letting it do what is best. Actually, let's keep it on the ground for this. And again, let's look at our slopes as we try to make our connection up here. So I do want to think about where it's going to connect up here right off the bat. Whoops. Wasn't seeing the bridges because I wasn't allowing them to be seen. Let's get rid of anarchy too so we don't end up with any craziness. That's going to be too tight. You know, and truthfully, I don't know that it would make a ton of sense to have a bridge crossing here anyway. I might just have an at-grade crossing. This shouldn't have a ton of traffic going to it, so Shouldn't be the end of the world. So technically this would be breaking roadway hierarchy. A highway is an arterial, so I'm connecting an arterial to a local. That said, the purpose of this arterial is mobility, and I don't really think you're gonna see a ton of trips being made through here. So it's acting more as a rural road. So maybe more like a rural local. So I will allow it. So I know that in the last episode I talked about breaking roadway hierarchy. In this episode, I'm gonna do it. So I'm trying to meander my way down there. I mean, this is a significant decline down this hill, so I'm gonna need to loop back around more than a couple times to make this work. Now I think that we're just going to try to cut a few feet down, repeated with every 10 tiles or so. Now that is way too steep. So let's see if we can use our tools to improve this at all. It's a little better. That's still a very significant slope. Okay, so that's a little bit better. Truthfully, we could probably stand to go along all of this. I could have graded this out first, and in reality, that's how this would likely happen. Or not likely, that is how this would happen. But it's City Skylines, so I'm going to do some of this on my own after the fact. So. Okay, so I think this makes most of these slopes a little more reasonable. There's a couple spots where it's a little tricky, a little treacherous, but all in all, I'd say it's better. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now, besides get a little OCD about this one spot, is try to smooth out some of the grading along the road where I think it's a little problematic. Okay, so for the most part, I'm happy with this and this connection over here, truthfully. I do think that, you know, if I were redoing this road, this arterial connecting up to the interstate, I might smooth things out just a little bit here along the edge. So while I'm doing this and working over here, I'll make a couple small improvements to the city. And of course, in reality, that would not be a small improvement, and that would never, ever be undertaken. but I get to do what I want to do here. So why not make a couple improvements? So I do want to see, what is this road doing now? Is it actually, you know, providing a great deal of mobility? Wow! Clearly this was a missed connection. That is not what I expected to see here. Didn't take all of our... Okay, there are still freeway trips. Wow, well, truthfully, I might need to grade separate this. I didn't think I would. I didn't think there'd be that many trips, but clearly there was some demand for this sort of cross-city mobility. This is a fast road to take, so I guess that does make some sense. The one thing that I don't love about what I just did here, so I have the highway starting here. I'm going to have it start right here and have this be a local road leading up to the power plant. Another issue with this, you probably would prioritize this movement here, and this would certainly not, not be unsignalized. That's kind of madness. So let's take a look at that now. Okay, so at least the stop sign, I mean, that doesn't need to be elaborate. So now we need to make sure that all of our utilities are connected. So let's do that now, but let's plan a little bit. It's a kind of a tricky spot because it's isolated. There's not really, we're gonna have to cross the water with this. And again, I don't know how reasonable that necessarily is, but we're gonna do it. Okay, so we're good there. I don't know, not enough electricity. So this isn't working right now. Interesting. It says that it's working. This says it doesn't have power. And now it's working. So I don't know why that was doing that. I guess we'll have to keep an eye on this, because the last thing I'd want would be for this area to for some reason stop working and not notice it. That would be a real tragedy. Okay, so now we need to make sure that we're connected with power lines to this area. So this would be a significant service line. So let's get this placed. Okay, so we have that now. We would probably want some sort of redundancy up here, but from a visual standpoint, I'm just not really all that excited about it. So I think I'm gonna leave it. Just know that that's probably something that we should be doing. But it's fine. So let's take a look at how this ended up. I like it. I think it turned out really well. And I think it's a lot more reasonable now that we would have this this power plant right along the side of this reservoir, and we've added some mobility as a result of needing to construct this over here. So in general, I think that this has been a very good thing for the city. So let me know what you think of this bill. Do you think I located it appropriately? Have you really thought about parking in this kind of with this kind of a power plant? It certainly seems like overkill, but I think it's a good thing. There are some other things that we could do with this. We could certainly have some of our water sanitation facilities over here. We could add road maintenance building, a snow dump, those sorts of things I think would all be very rational and reasonable to put over here. In fact, before we end this, I might actually add a snow dump over here. Let's look at our grades. Is there any kind of flat locations just near the power plant? I might need to make one. I might make one more flat-ish location over here for that snow dump. Okay, so now we have our snow dump here, and I think this would be a really good location for it too. Provides a lot of mobility, and there's a lot of accessibility in this area to a wide variety and part of the community. So not a bad location for this. When we look at our coverage, I think that would bear itself out as well. So yeah, when you look at what this area provides, now it has really good coverage. We could probably get rid of this other one that's not, in my mind, all that well placed. But I think redundancy at this point isn't necessarily a bad thing. So I hope that you've enjoyed this build. Please let me know what you think. Is there anything that you would improve? Anything that you think I should modify? Or do you think it works out just fine? Let me know. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you aren't subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. And if you want to be notified of when I release new videos, please hit that notification bell. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.